Many children with autism are difficult to toilet train. Not all children respond to the same teaching techniques. A method that's helpful in one child's situation may not be useful in another case. When beginning, try to look at the problem from the perspective of the student with autism, considering sensory, motor, regulation, social, and learning style challenges. It's often a good plan to build in visual structure to help the child understand exactly what's expected. But it's certainly not feasible to say that putting a visual support in place is the one way to solve toileting difficulties. Consider how the characteristics of autism contribute to a child's difficulty in learning to independently use the toilet. The first thing we do when implementing a visual such as this one is the task analysis. We break the task down into manageable steps. This is what a task analysis is. The number of steps needed is dependent on the needs of the student. If they can do most of the steps already, but are having difficulty sequencing them together in the right order, we might need fewer steps broken down. But sometimes, for some children, we need to be very specific and more extensive in terms of the number of steps we need. This example includes the following steps. Pants down, underwear down, use the toilet. This is where you have the option to use whatever language is familiar to the child. Get an arm's length of toilet paper, wipe, put dirty toilet paper into the toilet, flush, underwear up, pants up, turn water on, get soap, wash hands, turn water off, and dry hands. We then create a visual system to let the child know the step or sequence of steps toward completing the goal of the toileting routine. With this example, feel free to add or delete pictures to meet the needs of your student. You might not need every one. After transitioning to the toilet area, we may visually and verbally review each step as an entire sequence by saying the name of each step and pointing to each picture. We want to make sure the visual is placed at eye level to the student, where he can see it most easily and reach the pictures. It needs to be in a place where it can be accessed independently throughout the entire routine. After our initial instruction, we're going to avoid verbal prompts, as they'll lead to prompt dependency much more so than the simple visual. Don't keep saying, "That's it, push the button on the dryer, you need to dry your hands, get your hands dry or they'll be cold. Come on, let's dry your hands so we can get back." This creates prompt dependency, and a visual schedule allows us to avoid this excessive talk and fade to the use of visuals, creating more opportunity for independence. We point to one picture and then physically prompt the student to complete that step. Then we point to the next step and physically prompt this step, and so on. Some children find it useful to remove each picture as it's completed, placing it in an all-done box, which might be an envelope or a juice box that's cut in half. This gives a sense of completion as progress is made. At the end, it can be useful to include a preferred activity or reinforcer for completing the routine. As the child becomes more accustomed to the routine, we can shape the behavior by reinforcing successive approximations or better tries each time for the routine as a whole. We might also use backwards chaining by fading our prompts for drying hands until the child can do this independently and reinforcing at the end of the routine. We then fade the prompts for turning the water off until this step is done independently and then reinforcing at the end of the routine. By gradually fading our prompts this way, we're working towards independent completion of the entire routine. Consider how you might apply this information to other task analyses you may be using.